Hey everyone, ready for another deep dive? This time, we're tackling business funding.
Ooh, yeah. Funding. That's the fuel for any entrepreneur's dream, right? Like, you could have the most awesome business idea in the world.
Totally.
But without funding, it's going nowhere.
It's like, having a rocket ship,
Yes.
but no fuel.
Exactly.
So for this deep dive, we dug into some really cool resources, articles from the U.S. Small Business Administration,
Oh,
a
nice.
crash course video that breaks things down super simply,
Okay.
and a beginner's guide to funding.
Sweet.
Basically, we're your one-stop shop for understanding how to get your business funded.
Love it. So first things first, what exactly is business funding?
Right. Like, what are we even talking about here?
Yeah, let's break it down.
In the simplest terms, it's the money you need
Yep,
to start and run your business,
pretty much.
whether that's buying equipment, paying rent, marketing your product, you name it.
Uh-huh. Now, there are two main ways to get that money: debt financing
Okay.
and equity financing. Debt financing.
Debt financing,
That's where you borrow money.
like taking out a loan.
Exactly. Think of it as borrowing from your future self.
Oh, interesting.
You get the cash now to launch your business,
Okay.
but you have to pay it back later,
Makes sense.
usually with interest.
Right. Like with a bank loan or even a credit card.
You got it.
That crash course video had a really cool analogy.
Ooh, I love a good analogy. What was it?
They said, imagine you're baking a cake,
Okay, I'm with you.
but you're missing a key ingredient like flour.
Oh, no.
Debt financing is like borrowing that flour from your neighbor,
Ah.
promising to return it, plus a little extra
Right.
once your cake is baked and sold.
I love that. Now, equity financing, that's a whole other ballgame.
Okay, so how's that different?
Instead of borrowing money, you're giving up a piece of ownership in your company.
So it's like bringing on a partner
Exactly. They invest in your business.
and get a share of the profits.
Uh-huh. And say in how things are run.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So the SBA stuff we read talked about three main types of equity financing:
Let's hear.
angel investors,
Okay.
venture capitalists,
Uh-huh.
and crowdfunding.
Nice.
Angel investors, they're often individuals
Okay.
with experience and wealth.
They've been there, done that.
Yeah, and they're passionate about supporting startups.
Like they want to give back, right?
Yeah. They don't just provide funding, they also offer mentorship and guidance.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Especially for a new business owner.
Totally. Now, venture capitalists, or VCs, they're more like firms.
Okay.
They manage funds from multiple investors,
Right.
and they look for high-growth companies with massive potential.
They're looking for the next big thing.
Exactly. And then there's crowdfunding, which has become super popular,
Yeah.
raising smaller amounts from a big group of people.
Through platforms like Kickstarter and Indiegogo.
Exactly. Speaking of real-world examples, remember that crash course video?
Yeah.
They talk about that YouTuber, Anna Akana. She used $10,000 of her own savings to start her apparel line.
Wow.
That's a perfect example of funding in action.
Turning a passion into a business. I love it.
So we've got the basic definitions. Debt financing is like borrowing.
Borrowing. Yep.
Equity financing is like sharing ownership.
Sharing. Uh-huh. Now what?
Now let's take a closer look at each of these. Starting with debt,
Yeah.
what are the different types out there?
Okay, let's dive in. All right, so with debt financing, we've got a few key players:
Okay, hit me with it.
installment loans,
Installment loans, okay.
revolving loans,
Uh-huh,
and cash flow financing.
gotcha. So installment loans, those sound kind of familiar. Is that like when you buy a car or a house
Yeah.
and you have those regular monthly payments?
You nailed it. You get a lump sum of money up front
Okay.
and then pay it back in fixed amounts over time.
So like if my business needed, say, $20,000 for new equipment,
Yeah,
I could get an installment loan.
exactly.
And then I'd know exactly how much to pay back each month for, I don't know, 5 years, whatever.
Sure. Precisely. And the SBA articles we looked at, they mention a bunch of examples of installment loans.
Oh, cool. Like what?
Well, there's term loans. Those are usually for general business stuff,
Okay.
like working capital or if you want to expand your business.
Makes sense.
Then there's equipment financing. Pretty self-explanatory, specifically for buying equipment.
Right.
And then, of course, SBA loans.
Ah, yes. The SBA.
Those are partially guaranteed by the Small Business Administration,
Okay.
which makes them a little easier to qualify for.
That's good, right? Because some businesses might not have like a long credit history or a ton of collateral to put up.
Exactly. They can be a great resource.
Nice. Okay, what about those revolving loans?
Revolving loans. Think credit cards.
Oh,
Right.
okay. So you can use them, pay them down, use them again.
You got it. It's like a line of credit you can tap into as needed.
So if, like, my business has some unexpected expenses come up, I can use a revolving loan to cover it.
Exactly.
Or, like, if I need some extra cash flow, like, to cover a big order or something.
Exactly. But just like with credit cards, you got to be careful.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You don't want to rack up a ton of debt.
No, definitely not. Interest payments can really sneak up on you.
They sure can. All right, now for our last type of debt financing, cash flow financing.
Okay, cash flow financing. What's that all about?
Well, it's a bit different. Your loan repayments,
Yeah.
they're actually tied to your revenue.
Oh, interesting.
So as your business earns more money, you repay the loan faster.
Makes sense.
But if your sales slow down,
Yeah.
your repayments adjust accordingly.
So it's kind of flexible.
Exactly. And this
Um,
can be a good option for businesses with, fluctuating income.
Right, right. Like maybe a seasonal business or something.
Exactly. And some examples of this, merchant cash advances
Okay,
and invoice financing.
gotcha. Now, one thing I remember from the SBA articles is that it's super important to shop around before you sign any loan agreement.
Oh, absolutely. Don't just jump at the first offer you get.
Yeah, it's like buying a car. You wouldn't walk into the first dealership and sign on the dotted line, right?
Right.
You want to compare prices, features, all that.
You got to do your research, understand the interest rates,
Yep.
repayment terms, and any potential fees.
Right.
Now, before we jump into equity financing, we should talk about the downsides of debt financing.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It can't all be sunshine and rainbows, right?
Right. So first off, interest rates.
Yeah.
They can be a real burden.
Oh, yeah. You end up paying back way more than you borrowed sometime.
Exactly. And it all depends on your creditworthiness and the type of loan you get.
That makes sense.
Another thing to think about.
Yeah.
Qualification criteria.
Qualification criteria. Okay.
Lenders aren't just going to hand out loans to anyone with an idea.
Right. They want to see that you're serious.
Exactly. They want a solid business plan,
Okay.
financial projections, a good credit history.
Gotcha. So you need to prove you can handle money.
Exactly. And there's one more big one, especially for newer entrepreneurs, personal guarantees.
Ooh, personal guarantees. Those sound kind of scary. What are those?
So basically, if your business fails and you can't repay the loan,
Yeah.
you're personally liable.
Wait, so I could be on the hook for the whole loan amount,
Yep,
even if my business goes under?
that's right. Lenders often require this, especially for startups.
Makes sense, I guess. They want to minimize their risk.
Exactly. But it's a serious thing for entrepreneurs to think about. You could be putting your personal assets on the line.
No kidding. That's a lot of pressure.
It is. So debt financing, it's a powerful tool,
Ah,
but not something to be taken lightly.
okay. Noted.
Weigh the benefits against the risks.
For sure. Okay, debt financing. Officially demystified. Now, what about equity financing?
Equity financing, that's where it gets really interesting. This is all about bringing on investors.
People who believe in your vision.
Exactly. They put their money where their mouth is.
I like that. Okay, so remind me again, what are the main types of equity financing?
All right, let's recap. We've got our angel investors,
Oh.
our venture capitalists,
Yep.
and our crowdfunding.
Okay, cool. So let's break those down a bit more. Angel investors, they're usually individuals, right?
Typically, yes. Wealthy individuals
Yeah.
invest their own money in promising startups. They often have entrepreneurial experience themselves. A lot of them are passionate about nurturing those early stage businesses.
So it's like they're not just giving you money,
Yeah.
they're giving you guidance too.
Mentorship, connections, the whole package.
Awesome. Now, venture capitalists, they're different, right?
Yeah, venture capitalists, they're firms usually.
Okay.
They pool money from a bunch of investors.
Right.
And they invest those bigger sums in companies with high growth potential.
Got it. So they're kind of looking for the next big thing.
Exactly. Think tech startups,
Hmm.
innovative products, companies that are disrupting whole industries. Oh, wow. And then there's crowdfunding. That seems a bit more, accessible.
Crowdfunding has totally changed the game. It's let everyday entrepreneurs raise money, smaller amounts,
Yeah.
from a whole bunch of people.
Through platforms like Kickstarter and Indiegogo.
Exactly.
So it's kind of like tapping into the power of the crowd.
Right. People who love your idea. They want to see it happen.
Okay, so we've got the three main types of equity financing. Angel investors,
Yep.
venture capitalists,
Uh-huh.
crowdfunding. But just like with debt financing, there are some things to consider, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Equity financing, it can be tempting,
Yeah.
but it comes with its own set of considerations.
Like what are the downsides of bringing investors on board?
Well, the big one,
Yeah.
Dilution of ownership.
Dilution of ownership. Okay.
You're giving up a piece of your company
Yeah.
when you take on investors.
So you might not have as much control over decisions,
Right.
and your profits are shared.
Exactly.
Mm.
And the more equity you give away,
The less control you have,
that makes sense.
and less potential profit.
Yeah. I can see how that would be a tough decision for some entrepreneurs.
It is. It's about balance. The benefits of funding versus giving up some control.
Right. Okay, so dilution of ownership. What other downsides are there?
Well, there's often pressure to grow quickly.
Pressure to grow quickly. Okay.
Investors, especially venture capitalists,
Yeah.
they want to see a return on their investment.
Right.
That can put pressure on you to scale up your business fast.
Gotcha. So you might feel pressure to prioritize growth over other things,
It's a real concern.
like product quality or customer satisfaction.
Exactly. It's so important to find investors who get your vision and your growth strategy.
That makes sense.
Yep.
So pressure to grow fast. Anything else?
Yeah. Potential for conflicts.
Conflicts with investors?
Yeah. While a lot of investors are great, super supportive and collaborative,
Yeah.
you might disagree on things.
Like what?
Business strategy, how much to spend, even the overall direction of a company.
Right. Right. So it's like having new partners, basically.
Yeah.
And anytime you have multiple people involved, there's always a chance for, different opinions.
Exactly. Find investors who share your values,
Mm.
who you can communicate well with. That's key.
This is a lot to take in. Debt financing, equity financing, angel investors, venture capitalists, crowdfunding. It's overwhelming.
It can definitely feel like a lot,
Yeah.
but think about it this way. It's about figuring out what works for you, your business goals, your values.
Okay. That makes sense. So let's think about our listeners for a second. They've just learned about all these funding options.
Yeah.
What are some key takeaways they should remember as they start to think about funding their own ventures?
Great question. I think the most important thing, funding is a tool.
It's not the goal itself.
Right. It's how you get there.
So don't get so focused on the money that you forget about why you started the business in the first place.
Exactly.
The problem you're solving, the value you're creating, the impact you want to make.
Focus on building something amazing, something people really need. The funding. That'll follow.
I love that. Another key takeaway, especially when you're just starting out, be resourceful. Be creative with funding.
You don't always need a huge investment right off the bat.
Right. You can bootstrap,
Right.
get scrappy, explore other options.
Crowdfunding, or even trading your skills for
Oh,
services.
yeah. And remember those government grants we mentioned.
Totally. Do your research. Explore all your options.
You never know what's out there.
Hmm.
Okay, so be resourceful, think outside the box. What else should our listeners remember?
Understand the trade-offs. Debt versus equity financing.
Right. Debt gives you control, but you have to repay it.
Equity. You get cash,
Yeah.
but you share ownership.
Which path feels right for you and your business?
Exactly. It's about finding the right fit for your values and your vision.
Okay, great advice. Any final thoughts?
Don't be afraid to ask for help. There are tons of resources out there for entrepreneurs, mentors, advisors, incubators, accelerators.
Surround yourself with supportive people.
People who believe in you. And don't be afraid to reach out.
Entrepreneurship, it's a journey. It's about learning and growing as you go. And it's way more fun when you have a community to support you. So, to all our listeners out there, remember, the world needs your ideas.
Dream big, be bold, take action.
And never underestimate the power of passion and hard work.
And remember, funding is just one piece of the puzzle. Build something amazing, something that makes a difference. The rest will come.
Until next time, keep those entrepreneurial spirits high. And remember, the future is yours to create.